Welcome everyone to another Azure Centric Podcast. Today we're going to talking about our experience of Ignite 2020. What is the difference that we saw? What is the news? And as you already see in my our podcasts, I have my partner in crime, Andrew Lowes. So Andrew, this year it's a different year that we're seeing a lot of times, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
it was a different year from the rest because our Ignite, that is our week of geekness, first was convert in 3 days, basically,
Mm.
was 24 hours, and it was virtual. So, what was your experience? Because you've been on Ignite. I've been talking to you a lot of times about those events, and you experienced the both worlds. You did,
Yeah.
I think, one or two times to Ignite as an attendee, right?
Hmm.
And now you've been participating on Ignite as well as an attendee, but on a virtual. What's your opinion of to this year Ignites?
So I have actually this year I have a kind of a mixed thing, but it's really more about personal items for me. So for me, honestly, I missed the t-shirts. I have a bit of a reputation to uphold. I haven't had to buy an undershirt for many years. And yeah, actually, they have some good t-shirts. First of all, they're really soft and comfortable. If you've never been to a Microsoft event, the quality of t-shirt is second to none.
So are you saying that you are missing the swag? Is that is
I,
that
I
that, that you are missing?
honestly, I do. I miss the swag, but really, it's about as much as we do the swag thing, and man, do we do the swag thing. But I miss the personal interaction. So I like to shake hands. I'm not a big hugger, but there's a lot of people in the Microsoft world that are really close friends to me. And, we all have our personal ups and downs in life, but the Microsoft family is really that. It's family. And, for you, you and I are here for each other through, not just professional challenges and questions that we have, but also personal challenges. So for me, it's important to maintain that relationship with different people. So for me, that was a bit hard. I am a face-to-face guy for that. However, I will say Microsoft did go above and beyond, and they really made a huge effort to bridge that gap. So I think a lot of people feel the way I do about it. I've talked with lots of different people. Some people loved Ignite, some people did not love it so much, but I fall somewhere in the middle. So for me, I know it's a personal perception thing. I missed, shaking hands and saying hello and seeing people. But on the other hand, during these tough times with COVID, I don't want to shake a lot of hands. So,
Yeah, I have
video
to
chat,
I have to agree with
Teams,
you.
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So, we have like they talk about the circle of friends, like 5 or 6 or 10 people or something. And, you just have to be careful. You have to have people you trust, that are not going to make like kids sick or recently I was to visit my mom. So I don't want to make my mom sick. But it's things like that. We just have to think of others, and it's easy to get wrapped up in our own day to day. But
Yeah.
before I dive down that whole path again, um, I just want to say I do think Microsoft did a good job. I thought the Q&A portions were really cool. So as Microsoft certified trainers, both of us, we had opportunity to sign up to answer questions in sessions, and I thought the people doing it actually did a really great job. Um, and I thought also it was nice because Microsoft used Teams and they used lots of technology to support closing that personal gap. So video chats and open Q&As. And there was a few one-on-ones. So, I mean, really, if I wanted to chase a bunch of swag and, get a free ball cap or whatever, you could book time with a vendor rep to talk to them on Teams, one-to-one video chat, just like you and I doing today. And, then I talk to them about how I use their technology or what sales opportunities I might represent for them. And then, they send me my awesome ball cap, right? But I think it was a really good way to bridge that gap while we have to be safe and be apart a little bit. And honestly, video chat saved both of us through COVID. We got to chat with other people and have a virtual beer and all those kinds of things. So, we can keep our life as normal as we can, but at the same time, staying safe. So, all of these things are very important, and you have to figure out where it fits for you. But for us, your original question, as I often do get sidetracked here, but was, did I like Ignite this year? Yeah, I did. I thought it was pretty cool. So a virtual conference for the first time ever as Ignite. And I thought they pulled it off, man. They really did. I thought they did a good job. And I know a lot of people I follow from Microsoft with the Ignite teams, not the least of which maybe a shout out for another podcast here too, Patch and Switch. But
Yes.
they were really public about some of the challenges that they had and how they got through them. And I thought that was really cool because we get to see Microsoft people using Microsoft and other technologies to bridge these gaps and how they're solving problems.
Yeah.
And gives normal guys like us ideas on how we can scale that up and solve business problems too for our clients.
Yeah.
And, that's what it's about, right? Is fixing things, solving problems, and making stuff work.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was a challenge. I'm really glad that they didn't cancel. I was afraid of that because Ignite was always been a presence environment, and always been a way that you are doing that on a presence networking and a lot of those. I was afraid of one of my favorite areas, that was the what they call the theater sessions. That was those informal sessions that you have regarding the MVPs like me coming into the lounge in this case and talking about the way that they overcome some obstacles. And then you have the breakout sessions. I was a little bit concerned how they will pull it out, like you said. The other thing that when they make the announcement was only 3 days, say, oh, now they will concentrate everything on 3 days. And I was not expecting them to just pull it 24 hours of continuous working. For that, I know that Microsoft is worldwide. They have a lot of good talent there, spread across the world on different time zones. A lot of those things were pre-recorded, what makes sense because there is a lot of bandwidth usage. And nowadays we see that. That's the challenge that you were talking about, because everyone now is working from home. The internet is way slower because now you are not concentrating on those offices that you have very big bandwidth. Now you have way more people using home, and then it loads the internet. So we know that internet it's a little bit slower, but there are a few things that I think they had all of these keynotes. I kind of had a kind of a sweet and sour or a mixed feelings during the Satya's keynote. I was expecting, like we did last year. I apologize. Keynote when he announced a lot of Azure news. In this case, Azure as an infrastructure, for example, not IaaS, but all of those news that they announced, for example, service like the Azure Arc, the last Ignite, for example, that all of those type of that is the base for everything else regarding service. I kind of miss that. I kind of like the way that they went it with more community driven way to do it. I like the part. I like the way that they pull the community, especially like people like me and you, MCTs, MVPs, into the help them, because instead of having, I don't know what's the numbers of Ignite of last year, but I'm assuming like between 30 to 40,000 physical presence there. Now they reach on the hundreds. So the help that they need, it's way more. And the way they grab that from the community was really good. I participate in a few. I think you participate in as well on some ask the questions and helping the Q&A. So I think that part was good. But enough with that, because we arranged to just talk about with our experience on Ignite this year for a brief moment, and it's already been like 10 or over 10 minutes already. As usual,
It's the time warp. It happens.
yeah, for us, time it's just a matter of is in the air, right? So
A
let's
little
talk
bit of quantum thinking there. Yeah.
so let's talk about technology, okay? And based on the Book of News, so for the people that are following us, the Book of News is nothing more than is a website that they provide. If you follow news.microsoft.com, and then if you go into the Ignite 2020 Book of News, or even if you search it, you will find the website, and you have way more detail that we are talking about over here. But basically, the Book of News, it's all the announcements that they concentrate on those 3 days. And my God, was a lot of announcements.
Yeah, it's a tiny scroll bar, let me tell you.
My God.
There was a lot.
There's a lot.
I'm going to dive right in. I'm not doing a top down on the scroll, just to give you a bit of warning there, Marcos.
So for you, let's concentrate in a few things. Like, what for you were the things that you catch?
So I liked private endpoints. So I'm talking about Azure AI Cognitive Search. So I think it's not limited to that scope, but the private endpoint, it allows to connect in behind a VNet. So you can search securely, and you can do outbound private endpoint connection. And you can keep everything secure between the AI and the data that's inside your virtual network within Azure, right? So I thought that was really cool. And kind of the special part for me, part that, as you know, is near and dear to my heart, RBAC. So you can use identities and RBAC to manage the search rights. And it's just going to make it a much easier, more natural flowing solution within the Azure environment. So for me, that one was really cool. The other one, I think that really stood out for me was availability zones.
Yes.
So I'm furiously scrolling, trying to find where I saw it in.
and those announcements coming to the parts that we make it that we're talking about when we talk about to our customers, right? And when we're talking about Azure Foundations and the well-frame architecture and all of that, that you should, it's not because it's on Azure that you have high availability of everything. You should design for failures, okay? And that's where you're starting to see a few of the announcements, like you're saying, like the zone-to-zone disaster recovery, for example. So all of those small things that they announce, like you were saying, the availability zones, now that is being way more, way outside of only the regions, like the part of disaster recovery, now that you only were able to do disaster recovery to another region, and now you can do to a zone. So if you are not familiar with that, um, or region, it's composed by different zones on the same region. So a zone basically is a data center that is within um, um, a latency. That's what defines the region and what defines the zone. So meaning that now you can have, for example, on East US 2 or in any region, and now you can disaster recover on the same region because
Yeah,
that allows you to just have R on the same IP range, on the same subnet, something like that. You don't need to migrate to different subnet. You can change the IPs, yes, all of that you can do it, but you don't need to change, and you don't need to carefully thinking about latency to our different region because the latency is going to
exactly.
be the same. So
Yeah,
I like that part as well. Sorry to
yeah.
just
Well, no,
steal your
it's
thunder.
fine. I had it placed, but then I moved for the AI stuff, and I should have opened a new tab. I should learn.
Yeah.
But one of the things that did excite me about the availability zones was that Canada Central is included in that. So now
Yes.
14 Azure regions have availability zones locally within each region. So I know for me dealing with a lot of Canadian clients, they want to keep their data within Canada for their own reasons, and that's important for each business, right?
Yes, it is.
But now, instead of having to replicate to like West US or East US or US Central or wherever, you can have a DR zone in Canada within Canada Central. So if you're using the Toronto data centers in Canada for that Azure Central region, then the multiple data centers give us multiple zones, gives us a little bit of physical redundancy, and allows us to do DR zone strategies within Canada Central.
Yeah.
For me, that's really important. I know I now have a couple of my clients that are starting to look at that because now they can keep data replication within Canada because that wasn't available before.
Yeah.
So so like these little they throw these tidbits for these updates with Book of News from Ignite, but this little tidbit represents this huge balloon that blows up for a lot of businesses, right?
Yes.
So that's why it's important. So yes, viewers, listeners, please take a look at Book of News because some of those tidbits could be really relevant for your business.
Yeah.
The other thing that got me excited, I don't want to talk too much about zone to zone, resource mover. So I
Yes.
actually just for my own blog, Azure Tracks, I did just finish a pretty big walkthrough about Azure Resource Mover. I have not published it yet, but that'll be coming in the next couple of weeks after we release this. So that one was really exciting because it's a really cool technology and the way it works. So in doing my demo of Resource Mover, I learned a lot of things about it. So it creates additional resource groups. It puts resource locks on. It does replications. So it uses lots of other services within Azure to accomplish what we see as a simple front end, the service resource mover. So you add some stuff to it, you go through the process, and you move things to a different region or a different resource group or whatever you need to do, right? So it's still in public preview, not ready for production rollout yet. Still has the preview tag on it, so that's important to note. But it's actually a really cool way to move resources around within Azure. Used to be we'd have to do backup and then recover to a different region, right? But this allows us to accomplish it with less downtime. So really cool stuff kind of coming out of there. What stands out for you? I've got to pick a couple of my favorites. What about yours?
Oh, I have a few of them. One of them is the backup, the Azure backup. Now it's in haste and it's been optimized as well. A unified experience. with extended to a new resource and applications. That was one of the things. But what it was, and by a luck, I was able to find it, and I was watching, in this case, the Wes Wosley session. It was the this new thing called Azure Auto Manage. And that for me was, I got really, really pumped because Azure Auto Manage, it's a very cool feature that they announced to simplify the manage of the Windows Server virtual machines. Okay, this ties really nice to a lot of things that we've been doing, and we've been scripting, because it ties with PowerShell desired state configuration as well. But now it goes to a different level. It goes to Azure, right? And now you can create all of that. So for the people that doesn't know what Azure Auto Manage is, basically is, imagine that you are deploying several virtual machines, in this case Windows virtual machines, that you have all of those ways to do it. So, for example, you add that virtual machine to the Azure backup. You add that virtual machine to a disaster recovery. You add that virtual machine to the Azure Monitor for monitoring that virtual machine. You add that virtual machine to Azure Security. So all of those different services that Azure have, and you manually have to add it. When you're doing this, you are just making that a little bit. I was able to do that on scripting. So I was able to do that by running a script and add that to the Azure, all of those services. Right now with Azure Auto Manage, you can create policies. You can attach those policies to a resource, to a policies, in this case on your subscription. And depending on what you're doing, for example, on test, you don't need backup, for assuming that you don't need backup. But you want to still monitoring, but you don't need disaster recovery, for example. So now you can grab different policies, apply that to Azure policy that is huge, and then to management groups. That now you basically, when you add a new virtual machine, automatically adds to that services. So it simplifies your way to manage, and simplifies and gives you the delta that you have. It's almost like the same kind of way that you have the desired state configuration, the DSC, but applied to virtual machines and applied to Azure with a very simple way to do it. So you can have now policies, and I've been working on that since they announced, and I know that this has been a delay of releasing this video, but we were really busy at that time. But since then, I've been working and I've been adjusting all my scripting to this, and now I have a set of policies that I deploy to these management groups, and basically you can very easily standardize your deployment of Windows virtual machines. So it's pretty cool to do it to the life cycle of your virtual machines. Doesn't matter where you are, if it's dev, test, if it's production. So it's pretty powerful. And I did see that in conjunction to the Windows Admin Center. I'm in love with that. I have on my own lab Windows Admin Center, and the way that you can manage both worlds, in this case Windows virtual machines, especially if you have Hyper-V and Azure and all of that, and the clusters and all of that. And now was one of the things that I always tell to my clients is, okay, if you have Windows on your environment, and all my clients have Windows, you can manage that as well by Windows Admin Center. All the old server manager It's too old. This is the new way to do it. But they were missing one part that was, yeah, but I still have to deploy a VM to deploy the Windows Admin Center, or at least doing that. So now the big announcement is now you have Windows Admin Center on the Azure portal.
Yeah,
So
that was a big announcement because, like you said, it's the modern iteration of Server Manager, right?
yeah, it
And
is.
it allows you to bring hybrid environments. That's pretty cool. So you can do on-premises virtualization
Yeah,
and Azure virtualization, manage all of these things in one spot. I don't like the phrase, but it does give us that single pane of glass. So it saves time, it makes it
yeah,
more efficient. And, let's face it, administrators are busy people. They have a lot of demands on them these days, especially with providing fast turnaround. So, we're talking topically about Ignite, and it was a 24-hour-a-day operation this year, like many businesses. So, you may have, as an administrator, worldwide staff that are consuming services from your systems. And much the same as in Azure, we have to provide fast, good, timely service for our customers and clients. And that matters. Top down, it matters.
I 100% agree with you, and we've been working on several projects together. And you know that one of the ways that I like to always leave that customer is with tools that they will use or they see the value with.
Hmm.
And Windows Admin Center is always one of them that I always like to spend time. It's not a waste of time at all. It's spend time so they can see the value of that tool doing the daily tasks. And being like this, it's way simpler because now I can show them there, and it's not because on Azure that I cannot still manage my on-premise VMs. In this case, in Windows, there is no problem with that. It's really cool. But another thing, just going to another thing that is dear to my heart with all the works that we are doing, that is the migration to Azure. A lot of improvements there. Linux migration has always been, you know where I'm going with
That's
this.
a lot of fun right there. That's a big bundle of I need not a bottle but a case of whiskey to handle those ones. Yeah.
Now it's easier. So they make it the Linux migration to Azure way easier. So Azure Migrate service has been improved a lot. There is new capabilities on that. There is the Azure Migrate did announce now a agentless software. It's always been a problem when we go into the customer, say, hey, Mr. Customer, now you need to deploy this agent to thousands of VMs or thousands of
Yeah,
workloads.
inevitably you've got a couple DLL conflicts, and you have to
And it's not
resolve it
only
in.
that, it's like, okay, and then it's conversations, you know where I'm going with this. What is the performance impact of that agent on my machine? Now I have to deploy all of this. There is a shutdown. Oh, I don't trust that. Now I need to open a change. Now I need to open this. And now it's just basically delays everything by weeks. And depending on the customers that I've been, and you as well, by months.
Mhm.
With this agentless, there is a agentless. So there is no agent. Period. End of conversation. Let's migrate that workload. Let's do the analysis. Let's do the assessment. Okay, ready to go? Ready to go. We don't need to program these weeks in advance or months in advance. So agentless, it's good for the inventory and the, in this case, dependency mapping that you are doing on all of that. That's the part that I like as well. Regarding, there are a lot of other things. Regarding IoT, now we had AT&T then bring cellular to Azure Sphere.
Mhm.
That was a shameless play to IoT that I always like. We have now integration on Azure networking with Cisco.
Hmm.
That was really cool. On the virtual desktops, you have the capability of the new Windows virtual desktops to accelerate that. So it's a kind of a 2.0 almost, the WVD, right? That
Hmm.
during this COVID 19 is been really, really key. And and I almost forgot that. Now we used to have Azure and Azure Government, right?
Hmm.
So there were two subsets of Azure. Now they created, I think it's until the end of October, something like that, that they will announce the Azure Healthcare, the Microsoft Cloud for Healthcare. So
Well, guess
basic,
what? That actually came out today. It's fresh, hot off the press for
really.
today. Azure Healthcare has now hit public release.
So see, this is the good way that we're doing the book of news. This is supposed to be in September. Alas, happened in September Ignite. Now that we are in October, almost the end of October, a month after that, we are still reviewing that. But it's good to talk about that regarding what is the news related to the business that we always like to talk about it.
Well,
Uh,
one other thing I wanted to mention in Book of News for Azure was also Azure App Service Migration Assistant. So I remember working with a client, and they had some Tomcat servers running different custom in-house applications that they used for various means of data collection and interaction in that organization. Really couldn't migrate that very easily to the cloud. So we had to, at that time, do kind of the cold full rebuild, right?
yeah,
So now the app migration tool allows customers to migrate Tomcat apps, and your destination can be a Windows or Linux. So really flexible, kind of again, the small announcements turn into these big implications in the real world, right?
yeah,
But I thought that one was actually kind of cool too. So, for a long time, Microsoft's been doing a lot of cross-platform uh, projects.
yeah.
Turning these little tidbits into big services. So, the fact that they take the traditional Linux Tomcat server and now your destination. Of course, it's been available on Windows for a good long time as well. But the fact that you can migrate that using an automation tool for Azure App Service, I think that's going to help quite a lot of customers, actually. I know I would have loved to have had that in the past, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
on a
So
few projects back, right?
oh, exactly, right? Yeah. So that's the hindsight is always 2020, right? So
Yeah,
I think the other thing was, you have recently been embarking on a journey of expanding your programming knowledge. We were chatting a bit yesterday about that. But for me, I started out as a developer a couple years ago. And one of the things I liked was the Visual Studio 2019 support for GitHub code spaces. So now it's into beta. I'm not a big user of GitHub, and I'm going to say yet, because I still see a lot of companies that misuse the technology. So I feel a bit apprehensive about it. However, there's huge advantages to GitHub, and it allows for a lot of the CI/CD pipelines, really, right? So continuous improvement, continuous deployment. A lot of that can be fed through GitHub repositories. So now we're just working on expanding that and how it works in the real world, right? So makes the CI/CD ecosystems a lot more friendly and even faster to move things into production using the GitHub code spaces. But I digress.
that's okay. That's okay. That's the idea. And they I don't know if they released that during during Ignite or not, the .NET 5, it was the release candidate, right? That was available um, on the Ignite, if I'm not mistaken. And that's a new way to just go more to the cloud with .NET framework, in this case version 5. Um, yeah, and again, this was a lot of news, a lot of things that I like it. On this Ignite is always good to have all of this. I hope that for next year we come back again to the physical one, to be on present there. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I hope not. That the Microsoft will not continue this virtual one. I understand that it spreads the message way better, but again, like we discussed, me and you, we like to be there. We like to be with our partners, um, um,
Well,
our
there's a
other
lot of
people. Yeah,
yeah, there's the in-person relationships, and as much as technology does bridge the gap, for me, in my mind, it is still a gap, and there is no substitute for meeting face to face, sitting down and having a coffee or a beer. I'm not talking about getting the free T-shirts and hats from vendors. I mean, that's cool, but it's so powerful. And as you know, I have a couple soft spots as I age now, but one of my soft spots is really for the Microsoft family and being able to meet these people that I've learned from for so many years. The people who are writing the TechNet articles, authoring Microsoft Learn training content, being able to go and meet those people as a user of Microsoft stuff, that's freaking magical.
it is.
Honestly, I don't know how to express it any other way. It's both scary and exciting. It's like meeting your idols and all of these Microsoft stars, but then also realizing they're regular people that are just really working hard, but they're so good at their jobs.
Yes,
So it's amazing.
it
Honestly,
is.
it does inspire me, and for me, I think that's a lot of what Ignite is.
Yeah.
Sharing that passion, sharing that inspiration with others. I remember when we were physically together at Ignite a couple of years ago. It was, first of all, a big learning curve for me. That was my first big conference. I'd been to a few smaller ones, but man, that was huge. I did learn. I think I'll buy rollerblades. That's for get something.
Yes.
But you and a lot of other Microsoft MVPs really have been very open with me, and you've shared a lot with me. But for me, that embodies the spirit of the Microsoft family, and that kind of openness and sharing and letting other people light that flame and start to burn brightly. I'm so grateful for all of
Yeah.
the things that the Microsoft family has done, and selfishly for me. But I love also knowing that I get to do that for others too. So yeah,
Yeah.
Ignite is about learning. It's about that human interaction, sharing that passion. And yeah, I'm excited for 2021 already. So
Yes.
yeah.
And I have to confess, one of my struggles that I had is I've been on Ignite and all of these events. Previous Ignite was TechEd since 2005, if I remember correctly. So it's been like 15 years that I've been. I never miss one. And at that time was TechEd Europe, when I was living still in Europe, and then TechNet North America. Now it's Ignite only. That is one event per year that I always attend, besides the MVP Summit. But one of the things that I did struggle this year, I have to confess, was I was on my workplace. That is my home. That is my home office. And by enabling having Teams open and by email open as well. You always don't pay 100% attention to all of those sessions that you are trying to do it. You always kind of go back, jump back and forth from what email that is receiving your customers and everything else that and work that you needs to be done. But it was my week. Usually I reserve that week, and I plan the week ahead, that I'm saying to all my customers, hey, I will be available but only for emergencies, but this is my non-working week, this is my learning week. And that mindset, that when you took the plane and going to where it is the conference, it kind of switch your mindset, that now
You're right.
you are on the learning sharing mode, in this case particular for me, that you will learn, you will share, you will communicate, and you will share experience, and you will get other experience, and you always learn a tons. It doesn't matter how level you are, you always learn a ton. Different ways to do it, the same thing, and it can spark you new ideas. It can spark you to new technology and everything else that I always like about Ignite. And that is the part that I did struggle. I did miss the most. It was that, like, taking off of my working environment, that is my home office, be able to attend. Yes, I was able to watch some sessions before I went to bed. Cool, that's awesome. But yeah, I missed that part. I hope that Microsoft and the world can recover from all of this mess.
Hmm.
And we next year we'll be together and joining a nice beer, because I did drink my beer as well, but was a different way, and that's my 2 cents that I would like to say, or
Exactly.
express in this case. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think you're right. Sometimes I get what I like to refer to now as passionate, a little
yeah,
excited about things.
yeah,
But yeah, I did miss the in person, and I really liked your points about kind of isolating and paying attention to the learning. So, first of all, it's a bit of respect as well, because the people presenting have worked very hard to make their presentations, and they're trying to share their knowledge with the rest of us. So, for me, I want to respect their time and effort and pay attention to their materials when I'm in that session. And when you're there, it's easy because you don't care about your phone, even if it is buzzing in your pocket. You're watching, Mark Russinovich talking about technology,
yeah.
and it's amazing.
And
Uh, you
on
know,
Microsoft sessions, you really need to pay attention.
you do. They move fast, and they're sometimes extremely technical, so you
Yeah,
have to tune in pretty
yeah,
close.
yeah,
But I think next year is what, 11 months away still, and I'm excited about it. I'm going to stay optimistic. That's a bit of who I am. I just want to think about the good things, and you know what? We'll all be together. That's how I feel.
yeah,
So if we get to do it in person, big win. If we have to do Teams meeting, then that's okay, because I'll still be together with all of the Microsoft family. So I thought Ignite was kind of cool this year, a different flavor. Had some fun times, had some things I wish we did in person, but you know what? We did bridge the gap, and I look forward to Ignite 2021. It's going to be
yeah.
so cool.
Me too. So, friends, thank you one more time for listening to another Azure Centric podcast. Andrew has been already a kind of a second me, mini me. It's a taller me than me. That's okay. So it's gonna be the the big me, setting of the mini me.
I'm
But
not that tall. I don't know.
You are tolerating me. That's not a difficult thing, but that's okay. That's a good thing about this video. No one knows. I think I put exactly. Oops. Yeah. That's the beauty of these videos and these podcasts. So once again, thank you very much for listening. I hope that you subscribe to our podcasts. We have a new way now that me and Andrew going to talk about weekly about the Azure news. This was way over delayed session that we want to do it. We've been talking, but we were really busy after Ignite as usual because all the customers they listen all the news and they listen all the releases. Say, can we implement this today? I say, but you didn't achieve that maturity that you want, and a lot of those things are still in preview, and you should not deploy that in production. That goes to another conversation, probably another another podcast that we need to talk about it. Is why you should not why you should not implement preview features on Azure in production environments. But thank you once again. Thank you, Andrew, for being part of this another podcast of Azure Centric. See you guys on the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcos.